and then show all the work I show, and we're going to ask questions as we go. So the first question said, find the slope. Now, I might not get the exact graphs on here because you guys don't have them in front of you anyway, but I'm just going to do a random quick sketch. You have to do everything that I do. Number one, find the slope. The coordinates it gave you, and I'm just going to sketch them real quick, were negative 3, 2, and what appears to be 1, negative 3. How do you find slope? Yes, negative 3, 2, and 1, negative 3. How do you find slope? Very good, Gerard. Next time I have a question, Gerard, you are off the block, and you cannot answer. Other people have to. I'm going to get answers out of everybody today, dang it. Okay, slope formula. y2. You need to have that tomorrow in your mind. That's not something you know, you need to. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It's not that hard of a formula. Slope. Here's how I remember slope formula. Rise over run, but if you say that with an R lisp, it's y's over 1. Y's over x's. Y's over 1. Y? Come on. That's not catchy? All right, never mind. Slope formula. So, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 2 minus negative 3 is what? That's 2 plus 3, which is 5. Negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. So there's your slope. Negative 5 over 4. That was number 1. Questions? It is positive 5. It's a 2 minus negative 3, which changes that to a plus 3. Bryce, you can get out a piece of paper. You're just going to start on number 2. We already did number 1. I need to correct my attendance real fast. Has everybody got that who needs it? All right, number 2. Number 2 said, what inequality is graphed above? Hey, that's just like the one we did in the DOM. It said, what inequality is graphed above? And it gave you 2 lines. Oh, actually, that's the axis. It looks like the points were negative 3, negative 1. What inequality is graphed? Negative 3, negative 1, and 0, 1. And then it was a dotted line. And it was shaded above. Locket. Now, Ricky, I'm going to let you go ahead and get off the block, and then I'm not going to be able to take any answers from you. Since you did this in the DOM, I immediately know that my inequality is what? What? Am I going to be greater, less than, equal to, or not equal to?
Greater than.
Greater than with no equals, right? How did you know again? Shaded above, and it's a dotted line. No equals means it's dotted. Shaded above means it's greater. What's my y-intercept? What? What we're doing? We're coming up with the equation, like in the DOM. What is the y-intercept on this? Raise your hand if you know. Yeah, jump on one earlier, otherwise you're going to have to answer later. Sam. Very good. You cannot answer again. I mean, maybe later. I'm getting one question from everybody. Y-intercept is 1. How can we find the rest of the equation? Keith.
It's y2 minus y1 over x2.
Very good. You are off the block. Slope formula. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Anytime you need a slope from a graph or 2 points, that's the formula you're going to have to use. So, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. 1 minus negative 1 is 2. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. So negative 2/3 x plus 1. There is your answer. It's where it crosses the axis. Right here.
Be positive 2/3 because
Oh, it would be. It would be positive 2/3. 0 minus negative 3. Good catch, Ricky. Positive 2/3. And thank you for catching that. How else should we have noticed that, even if we didn't notice the incorrect slope formula?
positive slope.
Yeah, it's going uphill. Exactly. Good catch. Positive 2/3 x. Number 3. Number 3 said, what is the slope-intercept equation for the graph? We're looking for the slope-intercept equation for a graph. Graph. To get off the block, who can tell me slope-intercept equation? Lucas. I'm sorry, Tyler. That's slope formula. I'm looking for slope-intercept formula. Amelia.
Y minus Y1.
No, that's point slope form. Christian.
Y equals mx plus b.
Y equals mx plus b. Christian, you are off the block. That's what we need to do. And then our graph that they showed us crossed at -2 and had a point at 4, 1. Like that. So, I could connect the dots with a line, but it's not really relevant once you have the points. So it's going to be y equals, who can tell me my y-intercept? Cameron. -2. And how am I going to find my slope? We've done it like 4 times already. Rise over run. You could count it, but it's always safest to do the slope formula.
What are the points? Is that 4?
0, -2, and 4, 1. Now we've already punched this in several times. Well, I guess we can again. Punching in for the slope formula. In fact, somebody just do it. We've already done this a few times. Somebody calculate that slope, raise your hand, and this can be a get off the block question. Plug in our coordinates to the slope formula, raise your hand when you've got it. Mr. Gooden, you're already off the block, but if nobody answers, I will accept your answer in a minute. You too. You should be plugging these in to the slope formula. Yes, ma'am. 3/4. That's correct. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 should have given you 3/4 x. Positive 3/4. I guess you could have counted it. It went up 1, 2, 3, and then over 1, 2, 3, 4. But I don't know. I don't like to trust that kind of stuff.
What is it?
It's down here. Y equals 3/4 x minus 2. Questions on that one? Quick question about that problem, which will lead into the next one, but you don't have to write this down. Who can tell me, by raising your hand to get off the block, if I said we're going to make a line parallel to that one, what would the slope of our new line be? Yes, sir. 3/4. What if I said perpendicular? Yes, ma'am. Oh. Very good, very good. You're off the block. 3/4 for parallel, -4/3 for perpendicular. Yes, sir.
I'm not saying it if we get it wrong, but you wrote one of them wrong.
Which one?
I don't know. One of the two.
How do you know?
One of them's 0, 2. Which is,
0, -2. Yeah, it's down there.
And then the other one's 4, 1, which is.
That's what I wrote. 0, -2, 4, 1.
How'd you get minus 2?
That's the y-intercept.
One of them's on the Y, and one of them starts with X. 0 is on the Y, 4 is on the X. You just wrote them backwards.
What?
4, 1 is supposed to be 1, 4.
There you go.
No, 1, 4 is up here.
But
You got
this
to go
one,
over it and then.
Yeah, I know. Points and slope are kind of confusing because slope goes y, you do your rise and then you run. But coordinates, the x comes first. 4, 1.
alright.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point. I never really thought of that. Slope and then coordinates can be misleading because it goes over and then up, but actually your slope goes. I can see how that could be contradicting in your mind. Amelia, was it you that asked about the -2? Because it crossed down here at -2. That y-intercept will always go in for your b. So if it's -2, -2, +7, +7, -6, -6, etc. All right, the next question said, and this is number 4. Give an equation for a line going through the point 3, -2, that is perpendicular, which this is the symbol for, by the way, perpendicular to the line y equals -1/3 x minus 2. Now, what is the only thing we need the line on the right for? Raise your hand if you know it.
What was the question?
What is the only, that we're doing? We are coming up with a line that goes through this point and is perpendicular to the line on the right. What is the only thing we need the equation on the right-hand side for? Somebody who has not answered yet. I'm going to have to call people, aren't I? If you ever get an equation that says, is it parallel or perpendicular, the only thing you need from the line it's parallel or perpendicular to is... I was hoping for... Fine. Slope. I need somebody to answer so they can get off. I need an answer from everybody today. Is the slope. What's the slope of the line they gave us? Someone raise your hand, please. 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 Very good, Bryson. -1/3. That is the slope on this line. What's the perpendicular slope to that?
-2.
Flip it.
2.
No. You were right with -1/3. To find perpendicular, just flip him over.
So it's 3 over negative.
It'd be, and then you change the sign. +3/1. Thank you. You are off the block. +3/1. So our new slope, since we are perpendicular, is +3/1, or 3. Once we have a point and a slope, then what do we do to get this in a linear equation? Somebody with a raised hand answer. If we're giving a point and a slope, what formula should we use if we are given a point and a slope? I cannot take this from someone who does not raise their hand. Lucas! Point slope. Point slope formula. Thank you, sir. And what is point slope formula? Does anybody have that?
Wait.
Julia.
y minus 1, y1 equals m times x minus x1.
Very good. Both of you two are off the block. What was your question, Cameron? Okay. Point slope form. That's what you're going to need most of the time whenever you have a point and a slope. So, it's y minus -2, which is going to change to what? +2, equals the slope times x minus my x value, which is 3. Now, the problem just said give an equation. It didn't say I had to put it in a certain form. There's an equation, so we're done. That's point slope form. If it had asked for me to put this in slope-intercept form, what would I have to do? Someone with a raised hand who hasn't answered yet. Ryan, if I had to put that in slope-intercept form, what would I have to do to it? For? There you go. Very good. I would just have to solve it for y. But I don't. Thank you, sir. You are off the block. All right, that was number 4. Number 5. What is the y-intercept equation? We're looking for the y-intercept equation for a line going through the points -4, 2 and 2, 5. First thing I need, it says, what is the y-intercept equation for a line going through those 2 points? Y-intercept equation for a line going through those 2 points. Let's see. What's my y-intercept equation again? Someone with a raised hand? I have to call on someone? That's fine. Katie, what's the y-intercept equation? Sorry, Kate. Very good. Y equals mx plus b. So, that's what I need to get this into. Do I have my b? Did they give me the y-intercept? No. If they don't give it to you, then that means you're probably not going to be lucky enough to be able to use that formula. You're probably actually going to have to use y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, who can raise your hand and tell me, why can't I just plug straight into this equation? What am I lacking? M. I need to find my slope. Let's see. Sarah, how am I going to find my slope? What can I do with these that'll help me find my slope? To the what? Exactly. And y, x minus x1. You're going to plug those into the slope formula. So, that's going to be 5 minus 2 over 2 minus negative 4. So 5 minus 2 is 3. 2 minus negative 4 is 6. I am getting low on space. I may have to do some erasing in a second. So, does that reduce? 1/2. Thank you. And that is going to go in for my m in my formula.
What is that called, the y minus y1 equals?
That's point slope formula. Point slope. You're going to need point slope anytime they ask you for an equation for a line. You're going to need point slope unless they give you the y-intercept. If they give you the y-intercept and then you don't, you can just plug it in. Any other time you need point slope formula. Alright, I'm going to erase this bottom part of the board so I can have room to work my problem. Alright. Let me change colors. So, y. Now, which point do we have to use, or can we use, or do you want to use? Spencer, pick a point. One of those two. Does it matter which one we use? No. Thank you, sir. Y minus my y value equals my slope, which we've already found, x minus my x value, which is minus negative 4. Now, Ryan, you said this a second ago. What do we have to do to get that in slope-intercept form? Solve it for y. And that's what it asks us to do. It asks us to put it in y-intercept form or slope-intercept form, so we have to solve for y. So, y minus 2 equals 1/2 x, that's a 1/2 x, plus 2, and the only thing I have left to do is what? Add the 1/2 times 4. You have to take the 1/2 times the x and 1/2 times the 4. So we add the 2 to the other side, and your finished equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 4. It's really hard to be neat on this board. Not that I'm neat anyway, but it's really hard. 1/2 x plus 4. Questions? All right. Number 6. Is this relation a function? Why or why not? Oh, this is kind of a quick question. That's good. It gave us this list of points and said, is it a function? That's what you kind of need to write down as the directions. Is it a function? 3, 7, 2, 5, negative 1, 4. And as I'm writing these, I'm going to need somebody who hasn't volunteered yet to answer this. So if you haven't volunteered yet, you might want to jump on it. 3, 2.
What number is this?
This was number 6. Is this a function? Why or why not? Joseph, what do you think? You know, it occurs to me you weren't here yesterday when we talked about this some more, so I'm going to come back to you with another one and pick on someone else. Tyler, I think you volunteered, but I'll take you on this one.
No,
No, it is not, and why not?
because 7 appears twice.
Close. You're right about the occurring twice. What's the one thing you need to correct about that, Sam?
The X's.
It's the X's that matter. The Y's can repeat as many times as they want, but we actually have 2 repeating X values, which is a problem. We have 3 occurs twice and 2 occurs twice. You cannot have a repeating X value and be a function. So this one is no. You cannot have repeating, well, it's really hard to write on this, X values. I used to teach penmanship. That's a joke. I never taught penmanship. No, you cannot have repeating X values. Questions on that one? Number 7. Okay, it says if g of x equals 4x minus 11, find g of negative 2. Pretty sure everyone up in here has spoken up at one point or another. So we're going to go with dice method.
What 7 is it?
Where?
4x minus.
11. Minus 11. 5th row. There is no 6th person. 1st person. Ryan. What do I need to do on this problem? That's right. Exactly. Just plug it in. 4 times negative 2. You're just plugging it in for the x value. Minus 11. So that's negative 8 minus 11, which would give you negative 19. Very good. Now that we're to the dice rolling method, you might get called every single time depending on how your dice comes up, so stay alert. Questions? The next one said, map the points graphed above. Map the points, which I will plot in just a second. Yes, ma'am, it is. Map the points, and then are they a function? Map the points, and then are they a function? And the points were, I'm just going to very quickly sketch these. Looks like we had negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, positive 2, negative 1/2, 4, 1, negative 1, and 1, 2, 3, 2. Just like that. When you map, it's the thing with the 2 circles, x's and the y's. I have to list all my x values first. So I think those were negative 2, negative 1/2, 1, and 3. And then I need to list my y values. And it looks like they were negative 2, negative 1, 2, and 4. Now to map them, let's see, negative 2 went to, negative 2 was a point, so that's one mapping. Negative 2, positive 2 was a point, so that's a mapping. Negative 1/2, 4 was one of my coordinates. 1, negative 1 was one of my coordinates. And 3, 2 was one of my coordinates. There's the mapping. Is this a function? Unbelievable. I can't believe that just happened. What does it say? Dang it, there is no 6th person. Are you serious? Sarah, is this a function? Why not? Give you a hint. There's only one reason that we've discussed why something wouldn't be a function. In fact, it was your Dom yesterday. The Dom yesterday said, what is the only reason something can't be a function? That's right. Actually, I forgot I was going to come back to you, Joseph, so I'm going to let Joseph take this one. Go.
Is because the x repeats.
Exactly. We have -2 twice as an x value. Now, in a mapping, the reason you do a mapping, if you have to draw a line from the same x value more than once, it's not a function for that same reason. That's kind of the whole point of a mapping, to see if you have any numbers that have multiple lines coming out of them. If you do, not a function. Good. Questions? All right, number 9. We're almost done. Yay. Well, 2/3 done. It says, find the solution set. Find the solution set given the replacement set. Let's see. It gave us this equation and then gave us these points. And we had to do this by plugging them into the equation and seeing which ones gave us a true statement. Yes, it does. I apologize for the bad handwriting. Now, technically speaking, you could just punch these in the calculator, but you would have to solve for y first, so you could punch it in as a function. But since I don't really feel like solving for y on this particular problem, we'll just plug them all in. All right, let me change color. Oh, crikeys. It's gone. It's all gone. No, I can't because it's complicated.
Undo.
I can't. It's like closing an entire program when I hit that button by accident. Oops. So it's okay. We'll just do these points one at a time. What was the first point I wrote down? -3/8. So 4 times -3 plus 2 times 8. That's -12 plus 16. Does that equal 4? -12 plus 16.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. So -3/8 is in our solution set right now. It might be all 4 of them, might only be 1. Who knows? Sam, you getting this? Good. What's the second point? -2, 11. Is -8 plus 22 equal to 4? No. So that one's not in our solution set. What was the top one? Yes, 4 times -3 plus 2 times 8. What was the third coordinate?
-4/6.
I'm going to try to go slower and write neater. Does -16 plus 12, what does that equal? -16 plus 12. It'd be -4, but that's not +4, so nope, not this one. And what was the last point? -4 plus 18, I think that's 14, which is also not 4. So this is the only answer in our solution set. -3, 8. Now, while you're writing those, I'm fairly certain one of your questions tomorrow is going to say, it's gonna be worded similar to that, but it's gonna be something like this. And while you're writing that, it's gonna like give you an equation like 2x plus y equals, I don't know, 7. And it'll say, or it might give it to you in slope-intercept form. I don't really know, but it'll say. It'll say like, find the solutions or graph those solutions. And if it gives you a graph and gives you a bunch of x values, all you have to do is find the y values by plugging in those numbers for x one at a time. So like 2, you plug in, like for instance, -1. That'd be 2 times -1.
Then you solve it.
Yeah, then you solve for y, and then that would be your coordinate. -1, comma, whatever. And then there will be graphs below with all the points on them, and you'll have to find the one with all the correct points on them. So, pretty straightforward question if you know what it's asking. Just solve for y and plot the points. Number 10. Put this equation in standard form. Oh, darn. Well, fine. Standard,
Is that a fold or a Y?
that's a 4. Mean equals 4 plus 2y over 3, or the...
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a y.
And the other one's a fold.
The other one's a 4. Both the other ones are 4s. What's standard form? Gerard, I think I heard you say this yesterday. What's standard form? ax plus by. Right, which basically just means put your a's on one side, or your variables on one side. Except you can't have any fractions, and x has to be positive. You have to get rid of your fractions by multiplying by a common denominator. I saw a lot of people forgetting that yesterday. What is our common denominator? 12. Now, some people then found out that it was 12, and were at a loss for how to multiply this thing by 12. So here's what you do. You literally multiply every piece by 12.
Can't you spit all the parentheses?
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. But after people were having trouble yesterday, I was getting the hint that they weren't seeing how it distributed. Because I saw people do it by like the x and y and then not the 4. So I wanted to actually write in that every piece is being multiplied by 12. What's 12 divided by 4 reduced to? 3. What's 12 times 4?
48.
We have 2 times 12, which is 24, divided by 3. What's 24 divided by 3?
8.
There we go. Now we're not done yet. It's not quite in standard form, but if you had just multiplied everything by 12, that's what you would have gotten. To put it in standard form, which piece do I have to move over to the other side? Y, yeah. The C is where it's supposed to be. The X's are where they're supposed to be, but I need the Y to come over here. So what do I have to do? Subtract it. Very good. I'm going to erase this part in the bottom because I'm needing space here. Do I need to put that back up there for someone? I can put that back up there. All right. All right, so that would be 3x minus 8y when we subtract it to the other side equals 48. And that is standard form.
What if you just wrote it like -8 plus 2y?
Actually, you have to put them in this order.
Because the A has to be positive, right?
Yes. Well, x has to come first because that's standard. But then, yeah, you could not bring... The reason you wouldn't want to bring the x over and move the y over is because then your x would be negative. This one and this one only is the only one that has to be positive. That way it looks nice and pretty. Only 3 more. I know you're disappointed. Numerel once. Ooh, nice. 2 of these are really short. Number 11. If h sub t equals t squared minus 3t minus 5, dang it, that's a t, find h sub -1. Who's going to help me with this problem? Man, I keep rolling a 5. Someone in that 5th row again. Ryan. Luckily, you've already done one like this today, if I'm not mistaken. What do I have to do on this problem? Plug in -1. And the trick is, you have to remember to plug it into every single t value. So, that'll be... And you've been a trooper, by the way. Thank you for stepping up to the plate. I've called you like 5 times now. That'd be -1 squared minus 3 times negative 1 minus 5. Now someone asked me yesterday very astutely, they said, now would this just equal h? I mean, what would this equal? This equals h of negative 1. I should be able to look at this and know what this is. This is just the h function with negative 1 in for its variable. And that's what this is. It's the h function with negative 1 in for its variable. So this whole thing equals h sub negative 1. What's negative 1 squared? Positive 1. Plus 3 minus 5. And I think that whole thing equals negative 1. So h sub negative 1 equals negative 1. Dos mas. I'll tell you what, we might just skip number 12 and just quickly discuss it. Number 12, hopefully nobody missed this problem. Do the points above represent a function? Now someone said, well, there's no coordinates. Why aren't coordinates even necessary for this? Who can raise their hand and tell me that? Why do I not even really need to know the numbers that these are representing?
Because
Yes, sir.
you can see the
Because you can
X
tell
value
that two
repeats.
of them are going to be the X.
Exactly. Regardless of what they are, whether this is the point negative 3, negative 2, or negative 70 billion, positive 30 billion, who cares? The fact is, you've got two x values right on top of each other, which by definition means it's not a function, and that's the only thing you need to take away from this problem. Whether it's a list of coordinates or a graph, if you have repeating x values, no function. Of course, another way that I'll teach it later on, when you graph, has anybody in here ever heard of the vertical line test?
Yeah.
Yeah, the vertical line test said if you drag a vertical line across, and at any points, if you're touching multiple points at the same time, there's one, I actually took it off of your test tomorrow. There was one, it was multiple choice, and it said which of these functions, which of those four functions is not, I said that wrong. Which of these four graphs is not a function?
You should have left it on there because it's easy.
Well, we hadn't. I should have. I didn't know. I didn't know.
The
We
answer
were
is no.
Which one is not?
See?
C.
Exactly. Because this is the only one. This is the only one that if you drag a vertical line across it, touches in multiple places. All of those others only touch in one place as you move across. Good. Yeah, well, very good.
It's easy though.
I didn't know we had already knew it. I'm sorry. All right. Last but not least, 13. If f of x equals 7x plus 22, find, now I'm actually going to change this a little bit from the way it is because I noticed there's something on your test tomorrow. So I'm going to change this a little bit from what it is on here. Find f of 2d plus 3. Now, yes sir. Sure.
Just plug it in first.
That's right. It doesn't matter what's in this parentheses. This could be a 74-term equation in there. Regardless of what's in that parentheses, we're plugging that whole thing in for the variable on our original f function. It could be 1,000 terms long, it could be 2 terms long, it could be 1 term long. It could be Gerard, comma, smiley face, like the other day. You just plug what's in those parentheses into the function. So that's going to be 7 parentheses 2d plus 3 plus 22. Like that. Now, technically, you have to distribute and combine your like terms before you're finished. What is 7 times 2d? 14d. What is 7 times 3? 21, which I then will need to add to 22, which would give me 43. So, f of 2d plus 3 equals 14d plus 43. Regardless of what's on this in those parentheses, you just plug them in for the variable in your function. I want you to hold on to that. I know most of you might not study, that's fine I guess, but I want you to have it. And if you do want to study, this video, I'm going to put it online right now, and you can go back and look at it